Welcome everyone, back to weekly weather updates, and this afternoon we're going to have a look at the latest GFS ensembles, have a look at some precipitation charts, a live radar, and weather warnings, as we do have another deluge coming in tomorrow on Saturday. Do remember, if you enjoy my videos, make sure you do like and subscribe, as it really does help me out, and also check me out on Twitter as well, link is in the description. But firstly, we'll have a look at the latest GFS, and you can see we're pulling down a quite cold north or north-westerly wind, and it means we're in quite a cold air mass. So overnight it's been pretty chilly recently, by day being a bit warmer but still pretty chilly, and with cold air aloft it means convection has been quite strong, and that's why we've seen a few thunderstorms and some quite widespread showers over the last few days. Showers today are mostly limited in northern England, as we've got a little bit more of higher pressure further southwards and westwards, but this is in front of a developing low coming in off the Atlantic, arriving tomorrow morning, and is going to bring widespread heavy rain and a bit of snow for some regions. If we continue running through, you can see by Saturday the weather fronts are arriving ahead of the main low, so we're not going to get extremely strong winds initially, but what it does mean is before the main low moves through, we do pull up some quite warm air. So once the initial weather fronts move through, the warm front for many eastern areas will move through quite swiftly, dumping perhaps maybe 5 to 10 millimetres of rain. As it moves through, it does bring up some much warmer air, and we could be seeing mid to high teens for highs, especially in the east and the south, and perhaps even on Sunday again, mid to high teens. Before, as we head through Sunday, the low pressure finally starts to clear through. At least its weather fronts all clear through, and you can see we do bring in some fresher area off the Atlantic. We could potentially have maybe 10 to 15 degrees at 850 HPA for a short while on Saturday to Sunday, before it does get swept away down to around freezing or around 5 degrees at 850 HPA. So beyond that, the low does linger around, so we'll be sending showers and periods of rain around, but nothing too significant at this stage. Again, we have to update that near the time, so it's difficult to forecast a convective outlook this far out. Beyond that, we'll go back to the pressure charts. You can see that low is still over the top of the country, but it is filling in quite gradually, and it does look like it perhaps will sink southwards and become a cut-off low near Spain, which could bring a lot of rain and thunderstorms to Spain. But for the UK, we are under higher pressure, pulling in sort of an easterly flow, and if we have a look at the upper air temperatures, you can see they're not too cold, nor are they too warm. In this scenario, do suspect we'll have reasonably dry days, maybe a few showers on the easterly wind, and temperatures around average, both in the day and the night. If we continue to move through that towards day 10, you can see that low does start to head up from the south, up from Spain, and it does bring up some warmer air with it, and that could produce some showers and perhaps even some thunderstorms with it. But that does fill in, and we do generally stay with this sort of in between high and low pressure, so it's quite difficult to tell exactly what would happen with that. Perhaps some days we'd have showers around, some wouldn't. It's very difficult to see exactly how this would play out this far in advance. You can see the isobars are quite spread out over the top of the UK, and if we have a look at the upper air temperatures, it's neither really mild nor cold, it's just really around average, and that will reflect on the GFS ensembles in a minute, where you can see for the next beyond the next 2 or 3 days, temperatures do look like they're just going to be around average for the next week or so. Beyond that, we're in quite uncertain time frames, so don't take this too literally, but it does look like high pressure will generally be over the top of the UK. And again, we may be pulling in more of a northerly sort of flow. Again, upper air is not too cold, but colder than the average for this time of year. And as we head towards 384 hours, again, very similar pattern, quite stagnant sort of weather patterns, with low pressure towards Spain and out in the Bay of Biscay, high pressure to our north and our west, pulling in sort of a north or easterly flow. Nothing too cold, nothing too warm either. If we now have a look at the GFS ensembles, if we go to temperature 850 HPA and precipitation, you can see at the moment quite cool with the colder air mass. Then we get a big rise, and you can see weather fronts moving through, perhaps sending 10 millimetres, 5 to 10 millimetres. But with the warmer upper airs, it means temperatures could rise quite significantly through Saturday and Sunday if we do get the right conditions. There's always a chance we see there's more cloud around, perhaps some drizzle or showers linger, and even there's a chance as we head through Sunday we're importing a few thunderstorms for parts of maybe Kent and East Anglia, as it does look like there's going to be within the warmer air over the continent. There could be there's going to be increased CAPE and convective potential. So a few thunderstorms could be imported with that as well. Beyond that, you can see the temperature really is just around average. Precipitation is reasonably high, and that's because of that cut-off low we do see that sort of sits over the top of the UK and then slowly drifts southwards towards Spain. That's going to spiral around a lot of convection, so I do suspect these spikes will be a bit overdone at this stage, and it'll be organised as we get close to the time where we'll see a few occluded front convective systems perhaps developing. So there will be drier days, but then there will also be wet and windier days. Again, just really quite similar ensemble members. A few going warmer, a few going cooler, but again, just mostly around average, nothing too spectacular, no massive dry signals, and no really washout signals either. Yes, enhanced precipitation, but generally, that's not too unexpected for this time of year. If we now have a look at the 2 meter temperatures and precipitation, you can see generally temperatures around between 15 to 20 degree highs over the next few weeks, which is, again, what is expected this time of year. You can see perhaps on Sunday in London we could reach 20, 21 degrees perhaps. And then in the longer term highs, again, back down to 15 degrees or so. Some going up to potentially 20 degrees when we see nice sunny days, perhaps a little bit cooler when we see cloudy days, maybe 13 or 14 degrees. Lows definitely do look like they're going to be well above freezing. With those upper airs recovering to around average, even though we do see high pressure and clear nights, it'll be quite unlikely for many areas to see any more frosts. It does look like generally we've had the last frost of the season for most areas. Again, there's still a possibility of seeing a frost here or there in some rural areas, but mainly I do expect we've seen the last frosts of the winter, or the extended winter into spring. And it does look like that will be that's one positive sign coming from this pattern change. If we now have a look at the latest GFS precipitation charts, we'll just run through the next week or so, just have a look at the precipitation. You can see at the moment a few showers around, and then we see the weather fronts really gather in from the Atlantic. Perhaps some snow in its northern edge in parts of northern England, Scotland, but a real deluge. And you can see that those weather fronts do move through quite quickly. The warm front does, at least, for many northern, eastern, southern areas through Saturday. By Saturday afternoon and evening, we do see clear spells generally in the south and the southeast. But you do see this another sort of weather front, and this is the cold front trying to move through, and it does get sort of stagnated. It does come a bit stagnant over parts of Wales, and there is a yellow warning in force for rain in southern Wales, as the rainfall total could tot up quite a lot. And you can see that weather front doesn't really move too much overnight Saturday into Sunday before it does fizzle out, and then eventually it does move through. And you can see on Sunday afternoon, you can see, combined with that colder front and the warmer air of the continent, we could see some thunderstorms importing from northern France, and you can see those just on the bottom right hand side of the screen. Again, very difficult to forecast those on their exact tracks and exact wind directions, but at this stage it looks like they'll be moving north or northeast. So again, you'll really have to be probably towards East Anglia and Kent to see those. And chances are, we've seen it many times before with this sort of pattern, they remain offshore and become quite a light show for many coastal areas. Beyond that, as we sit under the low pressure, you can see just spiralling showers around, really. Mainly in the west, as it's close to the centre of the low. Ireland's going to see a lot of rain from these showers, and generally a lot of showers just spreading around. And you can see, again, that low starts to drift southwards, and the shower potential does sort of start to diminish. If we now have a look at the live radar, let me just refresh it quickly. You can see, generally, we've got quite a few showers in the north and the northeast at the moment, as we've got a little brief area of high pressure towards the south and the west. Again, a few snow showers around in Scotland, and those showers will start to clear overnight tonight before you can see the start of the weather fronts approaching from the southwest, impacting parts of southern Ireland, and will impact parts of southwest England over the next few hours before reaching many areas by the early hours of the morning, lasting through most of the morning into the early afternoon. So I suspect in the afternoon many areas will have drier periods and it won't be sustained rain. Again, very difficult to forecast how much rain will linger around, or if we do see some drizzle under some thicker cloud. So yeah, it does look like generally tomorrow will be a washout, but if you do need to get anything done outside, I do suspect the afternoon is your best chances of seeing anything drier. But yeah, as that low pressure moves through, it will be going quite wet and quite windy, and southern Wales looks like it's going to be the real epicenter for the heavy rain. As that as when that warm front comes through, we do see quite a lot of rain with that initially, and then the cold front lingers over parts of the west, totting up over the hills of southern Wales. So finally, if we have a look at the latest weather warnings, you can see that yellow weather warning for southern Wales. Persistent rain, heavy at times, may cause disruption, some disruption with difficult driving conditions from 6 a.m. tomorrow until midnight. 11:59 tomorrow as well. If we have a look at further details, you can see wet and windy weather will be developing during Friday night, will persist through Saturday. Rain will be heavy at times, especially Saturday morning, initially when that warm front comes through. Rain may ease in some areas during the afternoon before coming heavier and more persistent again during the evening as the cold front comes through and lingers. 25 to 50 millimetres of rain quite widely, so that's 1 or 2 inches, and then potentially 75 to 125 millimetres is possible over parts of Brecon Beacons, which is 3 to 5 inches of rain, which is quite a lot. I do suspect if this was in the sort of the middle of the winter, when we have quite high river levels and quite saturated ground, we could even see an amber warning enforced with this. But because we've had quite a dry spell, river levels are reasonably low. They're not very low, but they are reasonably low. And we've got quite dry ground. Only real widespread rain was from Bank Holiday Monday, where we saw another deluge come through. It's not going to be too significant, but again, still a yellow warning is in force for this. So if you are in southern Wales, do watch out for that and make sure you keep an eye on the forecast and the radar, as again, it is quite a fluid situation. As the Met Office do state, you can get an inch of rain or 2 inches of rain, and it really does depend on how sort of the relief rainfall develops as the rain goes over the mountains. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.